Next up, let's dive into framing sustainability, the green revolution, and entertainment. Please welcome back our moderator, Melanie Windle, along with our guest panelists, Lisa Clarkson, Executive Director, Business and Rights and Production Sustainability, CBC, Jean Christou, Director of Production and Operations, English Program, National Film Board of Canada, Marcia Douglas, Executive Director, Bell Fund, Hélène Fearon, Executive Director, Business and Rights, French Services, Radio-Canada, Mark Shapland, Associate Manager and Climate Lens Facilitator, Independent Production Fund, Elisa, Suppa, Manager, ESG and Sustainability, Telefilm Canada. And joining us virtually, we have Becki Brisson, Vice President, Business Affairs, Operations, Shaw Rocket Fund, Janine, Steele, Director, Interactive and Digital Media, Canada Media Fund, Joan, Jenkinson, Chief Executive Officer, Black Screen Office. So we will kick this session off with a special announcement from Lisa Clarkson.
It's a big group, but believe you me, you're going to want this to be a big group. I'm just going to kick things off as everyone gets assembled. And to start us off, I wanted to tell you about a place that I visited a few weeks ago in Northern Ontario called Baptiste Lake. And I've been going there since I was a child. And it's surrounded by dense forests. It's got animals everywhere, including a few weeks ago, little tiny frogs, although I'm somewhat dismayed to think that those little tiny frogs may have little pieces of plastic in them, but fish. And then the air there is incredible. It feels almost as though you put a mask on and you're getting just a quick shot of oxygen. And I think about Baptiste Lake because I think about what's at risk with the climate crisis. And I bet each and every one of you have places that you think about when you think about what's at risk. Maybe it's your backyard, maybe it's a place that you visited as a child, walked and swam, maybe it's a private park. And even though I know what is at risk, like Baptiste Lake, sometimes I feel too small, too overwhelmed, and too alone to know what I can do to make a difference. And if you think about our audiences, the people that we're creating content for, the fact is that they feel a sense of powerlessness too. In a recent survey that CBC Audience Research did, 75% of our Canadian audiences feel somewhat or very concerned about climate change, yet 41% feel powerless about what they can do to have an environmental impact. And if you add in those people that really don't know how to feel, they don't feel one way or another, we're looking at another 3/4 of people that feel powerless. Telefilm did an eco-awareness survey in 2023, and 94% of our industry, 94% of industry participants felt it was important to have a workplace that incorporates sustainable practices. So change is wanted, change is needed, and the question is how. There's so much pressure on our time and so many priorities swirling about, changing the way that we live and that we work, and what we do is hard. So what can we do to help us step through that powerlessness? Don't worry, I'm not setting you up for depressing. This is going to be very positive. To quote Melanie Windle, it's going to bring you some hope. So what can we do to step through that feeling of powerlessness? The Yale School of Public Health said and found that taking collective action where taking action on the climate crisis together, like we're doing here, can buffer the effects of climate anxiety. And to state the obvious, collective action done well also supersizes the impact that we have and also the speed of change. And that's critical as we race against the clock, as we race against those risks to help us preserve places like Baptiste Lake. So I'm pretty psyched. I'm here today on stage with some news about an initiative which is the motherlode of collective action. This announcement is about an unprecedented new group that includes organizations that represent and finance content from equity-deserving groups worth billions of dollars each year and which is seen and heard by millions and millions of people living in Canada. 11 Crown corporations, federally funded organizations, and CRTC mandated funds that produce and or fund content are coming together now with a singular goal: to collectively target where possible the environmental impact of our industry and to increase our collective efforts towards being more sustainable. And that hasn't happened before here in Canada or, as far as I know, elsewhere in the world. So who is in this storied group? Sort of the screen and the people on stage give it away, but I am going to read out their names. Some of them are here with us, either virtually or in person. Some weren't able to make it. But I want to read out the names of the 11 groups, and I'm going to ask if you're part of the groups and you're not on stage also, I hope you raise up your hands because I'm so proud of our collective effort together. So the 11 groups are CBC Radio-Canada, the Bell Fund, the Black Screen Office, the Broadcasting Accessibility Fund, the Canadian Independent Screen Fund for BIPOC Creators, the Canada Media Fund, the Independent Production Fund, the Indigenous Screen Office, the National Film Board of Canada, the Shaw Rocket Fund, and Telefilm Canada. We're calling ourselves Green Frame, or en français, c'est Cadre Vert. Green is associated with nature and growth and renewal, making it the perfect symbol for environmental change. Frame could mean a number of different things. You choose. It could mean a film frame, a screen frame, or a frame of mind. And so with that, we've made a little video to introduce you to Green Frame. So let's take a look.
For the first time, Canada's major content organizations and financiers are joining forces in a powerful coalition. We call it Green Frame. Green Frame brings us together with one mission: to reduce our industry's environmental footprint and build a sustainable future for us all. How will we do it? We will harmonize our actions so producers are better equipped to implement sustainable practices. We will collaborate on guidelines, tools, and best practices to make sustainable production easier and faster. We will share resources to support industry research and initiatives. We will engage underrepresented communities who are most affected by climate change, ensuring their voices are heard and acted on. And finally, we will expand our network to share knowledge and to build impactful change worldwide. Together, we hold the power to change our climate's future.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm absolutely thrilled that you were able to share this today. This is what we are doing. This is what we've been moving towards. This is what we continue to see. So I'm just going to jump right in with questions. So why don't we start first with everybody can introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about why your organization joined Green Frame. So let's start here with Elisa and make our way down, and then we'll move up to, I will let you know, our friends, our remote friends. Welcome to 2024, it's so great. I will let you know on the screen when we can move to you. So we'll start with Elisa.
Hi, Elisa Suppa, Telefilm Canada. I think we were inspired by CBC's vision to work collaboratively. I know that we've learned a lot over the years from the lessons when we started to more actively work into promoting EDI. And I think we saw then the importance of sharing different perspectives, of working more authentically and respectfully together. And this kind of collaboration really provides the opportunity to benefit from our strengths. And we're excited to be working together. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Mark Shapland, the Climate Lens Facilitator and Associate Manager at the Independent Production Fund. The reason we joined, it's hard to work alone. The climate crisis needs an all-hands-on-deck approach. When I first helped to create the role that I have now in 2022, the first thing I had to do was catch up to where the Canadian media sector was in regards to sustainability. So I read articles, I attended events, I talked to these people on stage to gain their insights. And then this year, when the IPF implemented new requirements for application programs for all of the programs that we fund, I also connected with the people on stage and other people that I met during that initial research phase and began to work together. I couldn't do it alone, and I needed to collaborate. And this is now exactly what this group is. Green Frame, with organizations from all across Canada, we can work together to create solutions that make a difference and are feasible for our producers to accomplish.
Hello, so I'm Hélène. Sorry, I will start again. Hélène Fearon. I work for Radio-Canada, and as for CBC, we have been very much involved in measuring our carbon footprint over the past 3 years, and we're collecting data. We need to share it. We need to share our experiences, celebrate also our successes. We work in an industry made of a large number of small, medium, and big businesses. There's several financiers involved in the financing of productions, and we just can't work alone. So that's one of the reasons why we joined Green Frame.
Hi, I'm Marcia Douglas, the Bell Fund, which is a national certified independent production fund, like IPF and Rocket Fund and some of the others. We're a really small organization. So by joining something like Green Frame, it's a real opportunity to learn from each other. And I think one of the big things is by working together, we can accelerate the change that I think that we need to see. So it's about working effectively, learning from each other, and then using the tools that we have and the lessons that we learn to share them both with each other and with industry so that we can step forward together in advancing the change.
Hi, my name is Joan Christou. I'm the Director of Operations for Production, Creation, Distribution, Marketing at the NFB. So the National Film Board of Canada, who some of you may or may not know, is an agency of the Government of Canada, so we've got a different status than the rest of the institutions. We're also not a funder, we're a public producer and public distributor. So we do have a bit of a unique role to play within the industry overall, in that we are making our own films, and therefore we're setting our own processes and policies and establishing our own standards within our productions. This gives us the ability to kind of move fast and iterate and try things out. We're really excited to be collaborating with all of our coalition partners here because they have all these skills and knowledge that we don't have, and hopefully they might learn something from us as well. We do already have our own ministerial development plan, which is publicly available online. We've submitted through the Government of Canada. And we have our own internal green plan, but it's not a public-facing plan yet. So anyways, we're learning, we're trying, we're really happy to be part of this coalition. And I'd also just like to thank Lisa for being such a great leader for all of us, and she's really brought us together. So thank you, Lisa.
My name is Lisa Clarkson, and I work at CBC. I am responsible for business and rights on the English side and also for production sustainability. In terms of why CBC felt it was important to gather together with all of these esteemed institutions, it really is that there's no time to waste, that there's so much to learn, and it's trite and obvious to say that we can learn faster together. And I am just going to give you a quick example, and that is around the carbon calculator. You've heard lots of mention of that. You may have tried a carbon calculator on your own productions, but the fact is that up until about 4 or 5 years ago, Canada wasn't using any carbon calculator. With permission, we pinched it from BAFTA Albert in the UK, and using their tool, which is free of charge, and being trained on their tool, and there's a number of organizations across the country that didn't just use it, they also ran training sessions. It allowed us to leapfrog into where we are now, measuring and trying to understand not just what our carbon footprint is, but also the hot spots and what we can do to reduce it. So that's just an example, an international example of collaboration that really accelerated our progress here in Canada, I would say by probably a decade. So I think it's that opportunity that has brought CBC to Greenframe.
And then I'll turn to our remote friends. How about we go Joan, and then Janine, and then Becki. Thank you.
I'm just happy to be here to be a part of this important event. I'm Joan Jenkinson, the CEO of the Black Screen Office. For us at the Black Screen Office, joining Greenframe is a really important step. It's a chance to work with people who care just as much as we do about sustainability, and honestly, who know a lot more about it. We're excited to learn from them and share ideas. And since we're a young organization with a soon to launch BSO fund, being a part of this group helps us build sustainability practices right from the start. And I love that we're prioritizing supporting underrepresented communities, especially those who are hardest hit by climate change. By joining Greenframe, we want to weave sustainability into everything we do and help make the screen industry greener. I'm looking forward to collaborating, to learning from our partners, and hopefully moving the screen industry towards a more eco-friendly storytelling. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janine Steele, and I am the Director for Interactive and Digital Media at Canada Media Fund. I'm thrilled to be here today. Thank you so much for having us. We've signed on to Greenframe here at the CMF. I think we've been starting some activities over the last few years, including, as others have done, some data collection, measurement, scan of the industry. But this is really an opportunity for us to recognize that to achieve our primary goal of supporting our nation's storytellers, we also have a responsibility to protect the world in which those stories are told. So we're really committed to this collective action, to working with our partners, as everyone has said, learning from each other, bouncing off of each other, that opportunity for that collective action towards this revolution of a more sustainable production space is really exciting for us. We're so thrilled to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Becki Brisson. I'm the Vice President of Business Affairs and Operations at the Shell Rocket Fund. Like everybody else, Shell Rocket Fund is really excited to be part of this collective. We're a small organization, so we are looking to learn a lot from many of the other organizations in the group that are leading the charge on environmental impact and sustainability in the industry. And as one of the key voices for children's media in Canada, the Rocket Fund wants to ensure that Canadian children's media industry and children's and youth audiences are part of this ongoing conversation. Climate anxiety is something that many, many children and youth in Canada and globally are grappling with, and that needs to be represented and considered in the content that they are consuming.
Thank you, everybody. I cannot underline enough how important this type of coalition and alignment is for all of us to move forward, to be successful, to be competitive, to be sustainable. So I'd like to turn to John Christou, who will talk a little bit about what the Green Frame's goals are.
Thank you. So I think I'll try to keep this a little bit brief since we've already talked a little bit about it and it's been in the video, but I think we wanted to reiterate that everyone here in this room is here because they are either already invested in being in sustainable production or they're invested in learning more about sustainable production, which is really great, and thank you all for being here. One of the goals of our association, though, is to make sure that the lessons that are learned here get perpetuated out so that everyone who's not in this room is also starting to learn more, learn how to invest their own energy into it, and to become a part of the solution. So a lot of our work is going to be focused on how do we build consensus and collaboration across the entire industry, and there's a few ways we're going to be hopefully achieving that. A big part of it obviously is going to be how we communicate not only within our work, so communicating new messages with our filmmaking, but also communicating with each other within the industry. And so collaborating together, we feel like we're going to really be able to amplify that communication. Of course, collaboration, the institutions, I don't know, for those of you who know, traditionally haven't done very much collaboration in the past. That's been changing recently. I think it's already been mentioned, but through initiatives around diversity, equity, inclusion, and gender diversity, and Indigenous narrative sovereignty, the institutions are learning how to collaborate together. But I think this is the first time that intentionally and before being sort of pushed by the industry into it, this is the first time we've collaborated in advance to take a leadership role, and I think that's really important. So leadership among the institutions, and I hope that percolates down. I know we all want that to percolate down within our own institutions, so within the staffing of the institutions, the training that we provide to them, the training that we receive. So that's a big piece of it. And then, of course, that ties into education and information sharing amongst ourselves, with the industry and with the public. So some of the work we'd like to do is to continue to fund some of the research projects that have already been ongoing to establish best practices around sustainable production and how to get there. And then, of course, for those of us that are funders, commissioning considerations within the projects we select. So that includes things like that Telefilm has already done, for example, in terms of having sustainability plans and requiring carbon calculation for projects over a certain budget. So, these are all things that we're going to collaborate on. Now, each of our institutions are planning to have our own individual green plans. That's part of the commitment of being part of Green Frame, is that each institution will have a plan. But of course, we're all different sizes. Some of us are big, some of us are small, some of us are just learning, some of us are already deeply engaged. So, I think there's an awareness that we're all going to be kind of moving a little bit at our own pace and our own speed. But I think the main key takeaway is that we're all moving together and we're all moving in the same direction. So I don't know, I think that's about it in terms of what our goals are, and that kind of summarizes what we hope to accomplish. Today is day one. It's going to be a long process. I don't think anyone is under the illusion that this is something that's going to be fixed in a year or 5 years or 10 years or ever. So we're just going to keep working, keep doing our best, and hopefully we can all get on board together and work together.
Thank you, John. So let's talk a little bit. I think we've touched on some of these ideas, but why don't we go a little bit deeper into what Green Frame's initial plans are for action? And there's a few folks that are going to speak on this. You know who you are, or do you need me to name you? Okay, go for it. You start.
So I'm going to start us off. Just a little bit of background is that, as John said, bringing so many national institutions together really has never been done before, and so that requires a certain amount of focus and intention. And then we turn to the strategies, which John's talked about, and our overarching goal, but we decided not to stop there. Each of the strategies that John mentioned and you saw on screen has some actions that we've committed to clustered together. You can find those on the webpage that we've set up, but we're going to tell you a little bit about them now. I'm going to start and talk a little bit about joint communication. This is our first act of jointly communicating, but we're going to do other things. For the industry, it's so hard. There's so much information that's coming at you all the time. Having institutions and organizations collaborate, and so that what is the most important pieces of information can bubble to the top. So we will collaborate to try and bring you joint agendas and joint conferences like Seeds of Change. Elisa mentioned it in her opening. And then what we'll also do is try and amplify each other's efforts. John talked about we're organizations together, but also individually. And so where one of us has done something that's spectacular and that can change the dial, we will also individually amplify those efforts. So those are the actions that we're all committed to for joint communications, and I'm going to turn it to Hélène Fearon, who's going to tell you about our actions connected to sustainable production.
So, as Lisa and John mentioned, it's a varied group. We either commission or produce or finance content. So based on that, we really want to encourage sustainability considerations in the commissioning, production, and or financing of the majority of content created or supported. So that could be through measuring the carbon footprint, or it could be implementing a checklist, a green checklist, or asking for sustainability plans, and several of us have already started that. We also agreed together that we wanted to research and brainstorm on how we might accelerate the decarbonisation of production, either through incentives, common requirements, or minimums. So it's still open, but because we're very diverse, we want to make sure that we try and have consistency for producers and for players in the marketplace. We want to ensure also in our organizations that training is offered to all relevant staff on sustainability right from the onboarding. It's a matter of making sustainability and green production important within our corporations. And the last point is that each organization commits to having its own sustainability plan a year from now. So several of us have some, but some are underway, and we will be communicating on that.
Janine, I think Janine.
Next is Janice Steele, I think, is going to go first.
Was Janine going to speak on that?
Janine.
Actually, I think Elisa was going to start for us on industry research.
Oh, all right then. So I think one of the actions we've committed to is doing research together. And I think everyone knows how damaging misinformation is. So it's important that we look at challenges, gaps in knowledge, and look at it collaboratively. Nothing's more important than having an informed and thoughtful conversation that's based on quality research. And Telefilm has been working in partnership, supporting different types of research with our partners at the CMF, and as I mentioned earlier today, with other funding agencies and other stakeholders. I think it's not only does it sort of bring an issue to light, but it also elevates the discourse once the research is launched, and it really perpetuates the attention that the challenges and issues deserve. So I'll pass it on to Janine now.
Yes, I think just to echo or lead on from what Elisa's saying, I think we really believe the CMF in evidence-based decision-making, and that really starts from clear and concise data. So I think as we've sort of talked about, several of us individually are starting to look, have started to collect data or look at what those benchmarks might be. But we really want to, again, work collectively with our partners so that we all have similar and common information to sort of make recommendations from. So this research may include identifying best practices, calculating benchmarks, and in concert with our government partners and stakeholders, potentially setting targets in the future so that we're moving towards a common goal together.
Perfect.
And I think a value of this is about accountability. So part of coming together is also being accountable to each other and accountable to all of you. I'm so excited that we have students here today because you are the ones who are the future of our industry. And some of us helped make decisions, or maybe a lack of decisions, that have impacted where we're at now in the climate crisis. And so we're here and we're committed to do this work in the interest of having a planet for the next generations to come. So you talked about the research, Elisa and Janine. It's that reporting, that accountability, and we'll be working through that as we work through the commitments that we've made here today and as we continue to build on these collaborations. But the point is to be accountable to each other and accountable to the industry and accountable to the public in the work that we do and in the interest of the industry.
Thank you for that. Accountability is truly important. Okay, so next question, what impact does Greenframe hope to have on the indie community and other industry organizations and potential partners? And I'll turn to Becki and to Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie. So at the IPF, we fund many new and emerging creators. We often catch them at the early stages of their career, and this is usually their first sizable project. Not always, but a lot of the times they're just beginning their careers as writers and producers. And so we want to first equip them with the tools and skills they'll need for the industry ahead. So we provide training for everybody that is funded through our programs related to climate storytelling and sustainable production. And the requirements that we also implemented this year will also help to build habits that they can take forward later on. One of the goals of our funding programs is to support creators and have them move forward. So whether that's writing in high-profile writing rooms, be showrunners on their own series, or producing a higher budget feature film, we hope that we build sustainability champions early on so that when they're in positions of power later on in their career, they'll be able to have a big influence on all of the productions that they're a part of. We also hope that they build a little bit of a community and support system with one another to share on solutions and work together. The budgets are often very low that they're working with, so they have to be nimble and be creative with what they're able to implement and have a feasible impact. So we hope to, connect them with one another so they can work together as well. Finally, we offer many free passes and access to events for our producers as well, things like the Sustainable Production Forum, but also many festivals across Canada. And wherever possible, where we're sponsors, we try to include climate storytelling or sustainability panels related to production so that our producers can attend and learn from experts, not just through me and themselves, but learn from everybody else. So yeah, I'll pass it over to Becki to talk about this as well.
Yes, thanks, Mark. So yeah, Mark and some of the other panelists spoke sort of specifically what each of their organizations are doing. And as a collective, we sort of understand that everybody has different requirements, looking for different things. So one of the things that we're hoping to do together is when it comes to sustainability plans and reporting, make it easier for the indie community to take action and report. So look at more standardized requirements potentially. With more standardized requirements could come some templates, other resources that can help, both producers that are looking to apply to multiple funds, work with multiple broadcasters and organizations, also looking at smaller organizations within the industry who are maybe looking to integrate sustainability requirements into their own operations, but may not have the capacity or bandwidth to develop the plans on their own. And then with the overall collective action, we're also hoping, potentially to entice potential partners climate-focused organizations to work with, us collectively to help sort of move everything forward.
Thank you for that. So naturally, with organizations of different sizes and scopes, the steps to be more sustainable look different. So what is one sustainability step or project or tool that you would like the audience to know about? And then I'll turn to the panel. Maybe we can start with you, Lisa, and kind of make our way down, and people can share what they'd like to.
Mine's a bit of a cheat, but I'm going to say it. At CBC, we've established a green production hub, and what we've tried to do in the spirit of collective action is to grab and borrow links to all of the helpful resources that we can put our hands on, whether or not we've invented them ourselves, like the Sustainable Production Checklist or the Carbon Reduction Plan, or others have come up with them, like the Producer's Guide for Producing for the Planet. So that's my one tip or tool, is go there, and no matter where you are, if you're starting out or in the middle or you know a lot about sustainability, I'm sure you'll find something that you can use there.
One thing we've done recently is we actually brought in the Green Spark group to do some training for some of our staff on how to use the Albert carbon calculator. So we're doing a carbon calculation for a set number of projects to see what our impact is. And then based on that information and knowledge and learning, we're going to hopefully move on to maybe do all of them, or maybe take something else away from it and keep moving forward. But that's one small step we took this summer, and we're going to keep building.
I'm going to echo Lisa's good note about her resources, and especially the Producing for the Planet website that has guides both in English and French, and a lot of tools for the producer-creator side. And also, because we're here in Toronto, Cynthia spoke about it earlier, but the Ontario Green Screen Initiative has training and resources that are more localized, and most of the film commissions actually across the country have resources that are localized to where you are, because one of the challenges can be finding access to green resources where you're trying to produce. And I think there's a lot of work there to build bridges between all different budget levels and different opportunities.
For Radio-Canada, we was really trying to build bridges with the producers and with organizations within the French market. So we have become a part of Entourneuvert in particular, which has great tools and is a great resource for all independent producers working in French, but the tools are also available in English. And we're actually reaching out to producers, so not only are we collecting data on the carbon footprint, but we're actually trying to get feedback directly through one-on-one conversations with producers to see what works, what the difference is between the various types of productions. Obviously, it's very different for a kids program like Famille Magique or a variety show like Zénith. Those are two shows in the French market that were certified by Entourneuvert. So, thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm a big believer in the power of storytelling. I think it can change the way audiences see and engage with the world. It's happened for me, at least. And at the IPF, we fund many personal stories. They have the ability to experiment, but also reflect the world we live in. So sort of one of my tools or things that I recommend is, for writers, look at your scripts and see if you pass the climate reality check. It's a test, it's a two-part test in which you ask your story if climate change exists in your world, and does a character know it? And if the answers are yes to both of those questions, your story passes the climate reality check. And the goal is that audiences see those discussions or mentions or behaviors or action in the series and begin discussions in their own life and take action within their own life, because we really do need everyone, not just in the media sector, but we have a big influence on everyone. Alternatively, if you're a production head and you're at the art department or a producer coming later in the project, do a climate pass on the script. So if climate change is not mentioned at all, are there ways to implement it either on screen, in the set dressing, in the background, have a character mention it in dialogue, but it doesn't dramatically change the plot points of the story that's already been written? And again, the goal is sort of the same. We hope that audiences engage with the work, are moved, and move to take action in their own lives. So that's what I want to share.
Hi, and for Telefilm, I mentioned earlier that we require a sustainability plan. What we did was we designed a sustainability plan template, so with really clear prompts to guide you through and help you in your planning. It doesn't have to be overly complicated, but it sort of carries you through the thought process. The other thing is we also, Telefilm has a website with all kinds of references, including a shout back to CBC. We also reference our international partners. Telefilm does recommendations for co-productions. And if you're an emerging or an active filmmaker, you know that working with other co-production countries is important, and sustainability becomes part of the conversation, becomes part of assessing the projects as well. So I encourage you to go to our website.
Thank you. And then how about Becki and then Janine?
Yeah, so the Rocket Fund is still sort of early in our journey on this. We have we asked for sustainability plans, currently not required. So we're excited to sort of make that a requirement moving forward and provide our producers with more resources, oftentimes leading on a lot of the organizations within this group to sort of lead the charge there. So, yeah.
Hello, and sorry, I'll just add, I think some of the initiatives that the Canada Media Fund's involved in have already been mentioned, including Producing for the Planet. We're also a sponsor of the Clean Energy Series, which is put on by the Sustainable Entertainment Society that launched in Newfoundland in April of 2024. Those are in-person workshop series that will be coming across the country. And also for those who are looking for more online resources, to check out the Real Green website, which is an initiative that started here in British Columbia, where I'm based. But it also provides ongoing workshops and training through online resources. So a great opportunity for those wherever you are in the country to try and take advantage of some of those resources and education that's available. And that's thanks to our growth and inclusion team here at the Canada Media Fund, who are focused on sector development and capacity building. They've really cultivated a wide range network of folks who are doing really important work in the industry.
Terrific, thank you. We may have lost Joan, I think, because we are a little bit behind. There's just so much to talk about. So this takes us to questions. We probably have time for maybe one or two. I don't want to limit us, but also I want everybody to have an opportunity for a bio break, a quick coffee, and then we're back here for another amazing panel so that our minds can be blown. So I think I saw a hand up. Does somebody have a mic? Okay, thank you.
Mike, thank you. Because this is ultimately a safety issue, I wanted to remind people that there is already in place the federal internal responsibility system, and that would cover much of the communication issues that have come up in the discussion. So everybody is responsible, bottom up. For instance, the crew member who informs the producer, and top down, that is to say, to create policies that protect the working environment. So I really encourage people to think about the internal responsibility system as a tool.
Thank you for that. Was there another question? Oh, here, right from the front. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Humber, I just want to say we're all really grateful and excited for this opportunity. And the question that I have is, some of us are sustainability coordinators on our own productions. What is any advice you could give us to move forward with this newer type of position that this is the first year we are working on, so we're just kind of figuring it out as we go. So any advice that you guys may have for us that are working on this project?
I'll take a stab at it. I will just say, and I think some of us, and I think Producing for the Planet is actually working on adapting some of the guides and tools for student productions, but currently the US under PGA Green has their Green Film School tools that may help you on more student productions or lower budget productions, and IPF I think is learning some lessons, as some of us are, in terms of working on lower budget. CBC though, like as a leader, has been really looking at building its tools on its website for any scale of production. So in terms of how to take that leap, whether it's like a one-day shoot or a big giant $30 million drama series, it's still the same sensibility and intention that we can all bring to these projects. In terms of career paths, that's a little trickier, but I would just say that's awesome. We're going to need more help. I think one of the things that COVID showed us was sometimes the smart move is to hire smart people who have the expertise that's needed onto productions who haven't previously had that. And I think the thing about sustainability to keep in mind is whatever we were doing was maybe not enough or was actually contributing to the problem. So having fresh perspective, having new voices who are willing to bring a new way, a new approach to production would be great. And I'm kind of, I don't think we mentioned this, but one of the things I think a lot of us do too is we also want to hear from you. We want to hear from the industry about what's working for them too. And part of this Green Frame collaboration is the opportunity to bring those stories back to each other, because it would be great if we all funded everything and all worked together on everything, but we don't have that opportunity. So please keep talking to us too, so that we can learn from what you're learning on your shows and integrate best practices or avoid things we want to avoid going forward.
Did anybody else want to? Did you want to add?
Okay. Well, one, it's inspiring to hear that you're doing that, first of all, so congratulations. I think just to stress to you, don't underestimate the importance of that role on set. It will change the culture of a production, and it will influence all the different departments. So I hope that the productions you're working on take your role seriously, because it is really an important one.
Yeah, that's awesome. I totally agree. The only other thing I'd add is plan as much as possible before you go into production. Have meetings as part of maybe your weekly pre-production meetings before you go into production. Try to connect with everybody on set and let them know what goals you have in mind, what do you want to achieve, how it's going to become feasible, and you'll learn likely from the other people in your team what are the challenges in doing this. And so as opposed to showing up on the first day of production and then trying to implement these measures at the last minute, I think trying to do it as early as possible whenever you can, and talking with as many people related to the production will help you all work together and share a committed goal. So that's one thing I've learned just discussing with producers. The more planning in pre-production helps.
Okay, I'm just going to say, I know, just one thing. One piece of advice someone gave me as I was starting out my career was look for a new area and jump into that, because you very quickly become the expert. And it's so true with sustainability consulting. We don't have enough sustainability consultants in the industry. And so I'm going to say, have confidence. Whatever you know and have studied and have learned and taken some of this advice, you're going to know more than everybody else. So you will be the expert. So have confidence in yourself. It is a really, really desperately needed type of expertise that we don't have enough of.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to say that we're going to pause it here for now, and I'm saying pause because the continuing conversation goes on, and that's why we're here all day. So I want to thank all of our panelists. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.